showtime.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh, hey there. This is Cooper Telepathic Bunny Comics. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole. This is What's Next, the show where we decide what's coming next. Everybody's obsessing about what's going on right now, namely the Acolyte. And we're interested in seeing what's on the horizon, and we want to talk about the movers and shakers. Spoilers. Got the Vonster here. Monster M.D is great. Yes, sir. Dave Brink. He's going to be on a future show since we can schedule it. Anyway, speaking of the Vonster, welcome to the Rabbit Hole, my friend.
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me. I'm always down to have tea in the rabbit hole in the wonderland that you live within.
Follow the white rabbit.
Appreciate
there
it.
You go.
That's right.
Anyway. Well, I did a review of The Snowman, the Matt Martin's, comic
that.
from, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And incredible art. I mean, amazing art, but the story was rudimentary at best. Would you agree with that?
Let me do my review on it.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I want to think about. I want to chew on that one a little more. But yeah, yeah.
Gotcha,
Snowman,
gotcha.
pretty interesting though. Yeah.
Yeah. There certainly has a lot of potential in that IP, but the execution, writing wise, is not up to
snuff.
what I wish it would be. Especially for something you waited three years for, and it's like, well, during that time, maybe we could have done some editing.
A little polish could help.
A little polish could have helped, yeah. But
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yep. The Vonster and
What's up?
Von Meister. Okay. Evidently, Shadowpunk has a few pet names for you.
I like it.
There you go. Well, anyway, but that review made me realize that there was a lot of people that I would rather be pushing, people that I know see writing and art as a priority. And so I wanted to start, shining a spotlight on people who I think are next, that have the art and the writing. And, we have people that are in the space right now that have neither, but are taking up a lot of the room. I think you had a running battle with several of the fans of that particular individual today. Maybe.
Yeah.
Just
That's
saying,
a very different path than me. Maybe the opposite. Actually.
Hi, guys. What's up, dude? Well, I mean, you got, Miss McCagney, so I think she kind of helps you a little bit on that.
It's a good combo.
Definitely. Who was the artist on Kitaru?
That was my buddy Felix Novera, and he's one of the first artists I really worked with on making a full book, and we still talk today, and we might work on other things in the future still. And so he's
definitely more of a
amazing.
manga inspiration on that one.
Yes. Yeah. I was a little more weeby back then when I made the book, I admit. It was about 10 years ago now. But the beauty of that book about Kitaru is that it's not just a guy, another white boy trying to make a manga. It's just me using some manga style, but it's a very Von story. Great characters, great one-liners, awesome action and events, great art.
I call you the master of Cutsie-Pie Macabre. Does that sound accurate?
Okay. Yeah, well, yes, actually, because I love laughing, but I love dark, evil shit. So it all and I love the fun and the color of comics, but I look at the world in a really dark way. I mean, I think the truth of the world is that it's brutal. It's unforgiving. It's out to kill you. And I want my work to reflect that, even if I'm making you laugh along the way,
Right. Well, I think I agree with you that part. And we also agree that inside of the horror, there's also humanity. And that makes it all worth it. Anyway, Vonster didn't know that he was entering a war zone. I think he did. I did. Pretty sure he did it voluntarily. I don't know what weeby means. What does that mean? Baby. Am I? Yeah. Oh, weeby means. Go ahead.
Weeb for so you're an anime fan. You're a weeb.
Yep. It's particular like online comics. That's weeb short for web. So web comics. The people that are fans of web comics get called weebs. I think it was something that. Yeah, I think it's something that Mo Biggs started throwing around, and it kind of caught on. He was accusing Bancroft of being a weeb because the first iteration of Lucent was on the net. So
right. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for that tip. No problem. That was the first place Lucent was on the net. I think bad hands and all were on the net.
I got that bad hand magnet on my fridge,
guys. I do too. I do. It's a
classic.
I do.
It's a classic.
I've got it on top of the she head. That's also on my
patting the head poorly.
Yeah, it looks like that character from that Ernest did. with the hand on the head.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a little bit like that. Anyway, what's up, James Murphy? Hey, good to see you. Anyway, so I didn't have a rating system for a long time, and now that I do, I've been going back and kind of reevaluating. And so the one today we're going to reevaluate is Mr. Monster M.D. Now when it comes to art, okay, Miss McCagney is just absolutely. She has a kind of I guess a Bruce Timm style, Bruce Timm, but dark, and stuff like that. I mean, but so when it comes to the art, one thing, this is a massive book. I mean, it's massive.
I've been packing those up
and,
a lot lately. And
oh, really?
It's a stark reminder of how massive that book is. Getting it into a bag and board was hell.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. It's got Heidi's tail in the back, and it's got the in the front. So, also came with the supplemental book, which I also have, and a short comic, which is the only iteration we have of Shinobi Sasquatch is the comic that you put in.
I'm proud to give you guys some Shinobi.
Which really sucks because I really like the character in that comic. So I'm like,
he's great.
Well, that's what happens when you have an artist that runs off with all your funds and gets covers for everybody, even though he's sniffing work. Anyway, that's another thing for another time. But I mean, look at this splash right here. I mean,
oh man, what a when I was making this, it was so Wild West. I didn't worry about page counts. I just wanted to tell the story I wanted to tell and just go big or go home.
Oh yeah, well you're coming at it from an artist point of view. I mean, a writer point of view, and so you're not thinking about the artist is pretty much like, I've got to draw this. Holy shit, And I think sometimes we got artist written books that sometimes they write to what they want to do, and so I don't think artist written books are as good as somebody writing a book and then hiring an artist, because the artist is kind of like getting paid to do stuff that maybe they wouldn't do normally, and so because the writer is just going off his imagination and he's not thinking about the limitations of of an artist. They're just thinking like, oh, this would be cool. I need it, and so the best books I have in my collection are ones that people came at from the writer point of view and then an artist, or even if it's an artist, like even if it's an artist written book, the artist was like story first and then did the art. Like Joe Catapano.
I love him.
Catapunk is a great example of that.
Yeah,
and the Shadowpunk's book is the best book maybe I have.
Shadowpunk is awesome, dude. Yeah,
it's an incredible book. Incredible.
I'm really lucky with Monica because there's something about us when we get together. Our craft there's this energy and love to it that people go crazy for. It's a peanut butter and chocolate combination. But I got to tell you, as I've made books over the years, I get sick of being the writer who just imagines. I don't just imagine. Sometimes it's very specific. It's even like me directing angles to tell the story the way it must be told. And I work with artists who are like, what? No, like I'm just going over here in my imagination of it and not drawing it the way you want. And it drives me crazy to the point where I am going to be the writer who draws my own book pretty soon. So because there are those little things you can't get. Even if you describe it in paragraph after paragraph to an artist, they will Well,
even if you do an Alan Moore script,
yeah, dude, I can't. I'm not gonna. It's so funny you brought that up because as I was saying that, I was thinking of Alan Moore writing all those paragraphs. Right? He's very famous for that, or maybe infamous. I don't know. But
they actually went through it on the Dean James's channel.
Oh, cool.
They actually went through the script for Killing Joke, and it was like pages.
Yes, I've read that.
A description for like one panel, and it's just like, oh.
Right,
man.
You have to find an artist who's like cool with that and can also make it happen, and it's hard, man. Yeah. My whole thing is I try to write for the artist to relax and have a good time and feel free to have room to tell the story and to draw cool things too. I am open to their creativity, but my stuff can be on such a delicate balance sometimes that I don't want them to overdo it or break away too much because it can throw off other ideas or payoffs or visuals that I want as
Right.
part of the story, right? So there's a lot going on with my stuff, and at the same time, I try to present it like a blueprint for someone to build something awesome.
Right.
You know,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
'cause that's what it
I
really
totally
is.
get that. I totally get that. I'm gonna have to take your wrench. I am gonna have to take your damn wrench, asshole.
Good luck.
All right. Artwork looks killer. Yep. And wow, thanks guys. Yep. Yep. Well, the audio sounds brilliant, by the way. Yeah. My right. Sometimes right before a show, my mic will go away, and I'm like, I cannot figure out what's going on with that.
Like a curse.
Yeah,
Cursed
seriously,
Mike.
seriously. Yeah. But I'm gonna have to, with the art on this one, let me give a rating right quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to the art on Monster M.D. I'm gonna have to go with
How many carrots was that? 5 out of 5 carrots. Oh, you're muted, my friend. Okay.
I just left it. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 5 carrots. Just because I
think that's good.
I reserve 6 for like truly transcendent things. I mean, like Second Coming of Jack Kirby stuff. If I, but
Yes.
but 5 is like a really, really, really high rating. At 5 out of 6. I mean, that's way on the other end. So it's not marginalized at all. This is I love her work, and I love her interpretation of your writing. Now, when it comes to the writing of this, now the I went and reread it again. I hadn't done it in a few little while, but I went. One of the complaints that I'd heard, the most predominant complaint that I'd heard was some people thought that you meandered.
Mhm.
Now, I know upon rereading, I've realized that quote meandering, like the kind of 80s style, montage in the middle,
Yes.
but all throughout that, you've got Easter eggs that pay off later. And so it seems like you're meandering, but you're actually, there seems to be like this weird kind of like this Wolfman thing at the beginning. And it's like, what's that got to do with anything? But then he plays in later on in the book.
Right.
And it's like, you establish that character early. And basically, as a writer, I know what you're up to. And as a reader, as a reading experience, there's a lot of subtlety there that you just don't see in a lot of work, especially coming out of this part of indie comics right now. And it just has to do with like somebody really, really focusing in on like going page by page with a fine-tooth comb and tweaking and tightening. You can always tell that extra editorial step when you see it. And because most people, they understand the like initial editorial step, and then what you get out of that is story beats. What you get out of that is maybe improved dialogue and maybe better story structure. But there's a couple passes that not many people get to, and that final pass is the one where somebody just says, "Okay, I'm gonna like make sure that everything's exactly the way I want it."
Exactly.
And
Yes, you nailed it. Exactly. It was people underestimate the power of perfecting on that level, where it's like you tighten all those screws and it becomes this functional story machine that takes people away and gives them lots of happiness. And I'm a big believer in it, because it's like, why am I doing this and spending this much time unless I'm going to make it as perfect as possible, as honest as possible to what I do. So yeah, it's I don't even know how many passes I did on Monster MD. I swear, as we letter it, you want to do another editing pass. You want to polish, like you start to see the fat that you accidentally left on dialogue or whatever, and trim that. You start to see funnier jokes you could make, or things. Sometimes you just throw out what you're using and look at the panel and try to reimagine it in a better way, what works better. And I caught myself doing that for a few things too. So it became this like kind of a loving process where I was redoing my book in a lot of big ways on some things. And at the same time, I knew it was coming out like perfecto. Like I knew people were going to go nuts, you know? Yeah.
Well,
and as for the montage, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, as for the montage, I totally expected criticism for it, which is totally fair. But at the same time, it's great that you saw it. You saw these payoffs, not even payoffs, but I mean, a big story moments that you don't think are a big deal in the montage. You think it's all just humor.
Right.
They pay off big, like later scenes, when it comes to a doctor's monster arm, right?
Yeah.
And people love that type of tricky cleverness that surprises them later when they didn't think it was much, and then it turns out it's very important. I think readers really enjoy that. But also, I wanted that montage scene to be our character trying to do well. Like he was trying to struggle against the he wanted to quit, but this montage was him actually putting his best foot forward and trying not to quit. You know, and then of course he's like, "Screw this, I quit." By the end of it, so it was that moment of like trying again and then getting your ass kicked anyway. That heroes have a lot, you know, in stories.
Right.
But I still understand why people got thrown by it.
Well, that's one thing about the hero's journey is if you don't put the sucker through the ringer, then it's not going to feel like why is this book here? You know.
Right.
Say Jim Lee gets 5 carrots. Yeah. Hello, what's up, Woodbreaker? Jim Lee depends on the story. Hush would definitely get 6. Okay. There's some things in Hush. There are some things in Hush that are just, you know.
The way they did like only like 2 or 3 panels every page, so everything was big and juicy. It was pretty bold. I really liked that. It was interesting.
Yeah. I think it's 5 panels per page was the limit that he put on himself, and
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of do that with my scripts. I will sometimes do more, but it's once I'm at 5, I'm like, that's my max for most books now.
Yeah, that's where I try to keep it myself. But yeah, so when it comes to the writing, the big power in this book is in the characters, and you've got the shall we say the heart of the book.
Oh, Heidi.
Yeah.
Oh. I love her. Best invisible surgical assistant you can find.
Oh, definitely. Well, but the thing about her that is just like you the challenge that you set for yourself obviously was, how do I make somebody who's essentially invisible sexy? And you accomplished that. You accomplished it because there's just something about her that is just like, you can just hear her voice and she sounds like peak Kathleen Turner in my mind.
Ooh, that is a sexy voice.
Yeah, that kind of that smoke, a little bit of that smoke, and a little bit of I just that's what I hear in my head. I don't hear something real high and cutesy. I hear something kind of like a womanly.
Yeah,
but the thing about it is that I really love about her and Dr. Black is that she sees the best in him, even when when he's the bad guy, in a situation. She just sees the best in him, and she's just like, you're being an asshole right now, but you're gonna come out someplace good. And I'll stick with the ride until you come out someplace good. And there's times where you're like, why is Heidi just putting up with this shit? Because she was a nun. I mean, she's got that pure heart to her. But 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 the thing about it is because she sees that good in Dr. Black, even though he doesn't see it in himself, you as the reader see the good in him. And then there at the end, when all the monsters of the night are just like freaking out because they don't know if he's going to wake up. Sorry, didn't mean to spoil.
No worries.
but there's this moment where, you got like things that are from your nightmare are hugging each other for comfort, hoping that he'll wake up. And it's just like, he opens his eyes and he realizes that these things might give people nightmares, but they're my friends and they're people that I care about, and we're a community here. And you know, I guess the Comics Gate we're kind of like villains for people, and you know, but we have a war inside of our community. We're warm, you know, and for some parts, for some of it, you know, I'll say that pockets of it are, but you know,
it's interesting these days. It's crazier, but it's weird.
Everything's a caveat these days, you know.
I know, it's so stupid too. I can't wait till it's all over. I can't wait till there's more fun and cohesion again. But when it comes to when you fight in the trenches of the culture war, like shit's gonna get muddy. It's gonna be muddy. People are gonna when people. It's weird to me. The weirdest part is watching people ignore what's really going on within our indie sphere and just kind of duck their heads down and go, no. It's weird to me. I used to look at us as very outspoken, like critics, and I respected that about us. I still do, but I mean, not as many of us do that now. So, but when it comes to Monster M.D, I mean, that's his arc, right? Like he's this ragtag kind of fallen surgeon, and by the end he needs to figure out his place in the world, and that's why he wakes up in that bed and he's like, this is where I belong. These are my people, you know. Well,
me and your character have that thing in common where they got the arm that's not quite that they have to like come to terms with, I had that character and that arm before I read Monster M.D, so you know we just had parallel thoughts there.
That's not too. It's not like it's a lift. You know, there's lots of characters with that funky arm, right? You know, out there,
right? Well, that and the eye. You know, there's a lot of. I've got both.
Oh
you know,
yes,
you see that a lot, especially old guys, grizzled, you know, with the beard and the eye.
Cable.
The cable. Look. I think we all are like inspired by Cable, definitely.
Great character.
Did you see Aaron Lopresti's version of Cable the other day?
I don't know if I saw it.
It looks really good. He did it on Graybeards. This artwork in Kitaru looks so freaking cool. Yeah.
Thanks, man. That's the last book I ever full book I physically inked. And it was my neck was broken, but I didn't give a damn. I was having so much fun, and I love doing it. Nowadays, I've switched to digital, so in a weird way, I kind of miss it. You know, the physicalness of it, but it's also like stressful as hell. You know, but I'm really proud of it. I think Kitaru is definitely a sleeper hit. I think when people read it, they're going to go, "Oh, damn, this is actually better than I expected." I think they really are going to love it. I did rewrite it with like everything I've learned now, polished it up to perfection. And that was part of the fun, was getting to rewrite something I did a long time ago and spruce it up into something even better. And I had friends telling me it's my best work, and I'm like going, what? Like, no. But you like Monster M.D. or Trenches more. And they're like, no, man, Kitaru is where it's at. He's just such a good character that I'm into it. So maybe I just didn't sell it right. I should get out there and try to sell it some more, because people are gonna wish they got this one. I can tell. It's
well, you know, it's still on FMC, so in Indiegogo.
Yes.
So I've got the FMC link below. I was like, if I gotta push one, I'll push FMC. So you know,
totally cool. I love them. Thanks, man.
Anyway, so let me give a rating on this right quick.
All right.
Upon reevaluation, I'm going to give it a.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a lot of carrots, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
It's just so well written, and you spent so much time on it, and it really shows. The polish is there.
I love the way people respond to Monster M.D. They just get witched away into it. What I love about it is when they just hear the title, they haven't read the book yet, people's faces light up. They kind of chuckle a little bit. You know, they're like, oh, okay, a monster doctor, huh? And so you know you're cooking with gas there. You know you got a fire going. And then if they read the book and they come away just happier than ever and satisfied, loving the characters, I have done my job. I have done my job of making these characters.
Well, you do have your mystery machine on that one. I need that toy sometime, you know.
Oh, that would be so cool to make.
I love the van.
Wagon.
I love the van, the meat wagon. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna do a little bit of a surprise.
Uh-oh.
Got another book. Got another book here handy.
Oh wow. Now that, my friends, is what we call a badass T-shirt.
Yeah, it's a very badass t-shirt. That thing glows in the dark. Sometimes I forget and I look over and whoa, what?
Whoa, who is that? I'm being haunted.
So, now I'm gonna be honest about this one. I'm not gonna give a rating on it tonight, but the thing that kind of holds me back from being Monster M.D. is the fact that it's obviously in media res. It's obviously this was like, the story's not there entirely, and so it's really hard to tell with this one.
That was one of the risks for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do understand that. And this cover, golly, the cover on this one.
Beautiful.
The guys that really do graphic design and you and Marco, I mean, it's just absolutely incredible.
I think that doing one big script and then slicing it into 3. I've never done that before until this book, and I think it kind of worked against me a little bit. I think certain readers are going to, especially avid comic readers, are going to go, well, where's that extra meat to the story? But I promise you, at least in my opinion, once you get all 3 books and you get that one big story, I mean, this thing is there's nothing like Trenches. There's nothing. Well,
it's definitely hard to make evaluation, but I mean, jeez, Louise, look at that. I mean, but yeah, the art, I can already give definitely the art is definitely skewing to 6 carats on that. The writing's just so hard to evaluate. The one thing I really hated was the fact that we didn't get to meet this guy.
Not enough of him. Not enough of Duke.
No, he didn't. He wasn't there long, and that's my biggest disappointment. I thought I'd love to see him.
When I think of like what would I do if I went back on that book, I do think I would give Terra more time in his neighborhood before blowing the shit out of it.
I really think. I actually, the first time I reviewed this, I did say that. I was like, you've obviously got this neighborhood in your head that you've created, and I just wish we could have lived there a little while longer.
It would have made it more tragic in a way, and like it could have shown I could have shown some cool things, even some cool scenes where maybe he sees crime happening, but he's looking the other way. He's just a pharmacist now, type thing. Yeah, things like that. But yeah, I remember back then too, the way I was writing. I've kind of changed this up since then. I was so fast about everything. Like a kid who's good at playing metal, just picking up the guitar and just going.
Oh yeah.
Like instead of just taking my breaths. Like I do now, I was like, page 11, blow it all up. So I totally look back at it now and kind of understand that. Yeah.
Well, with Monster M.D., you had your quiet moments. Everything wasn't like pushed up to 11, and so obviously, if I get all 3 books, I'll probably have that in all 3 books. There's going to be like some, but this first one, you just like hit the ground like full sprint, and I did feel like some of the world building was kind of left in the dust a little bit. So I'm looking forward to getting the rest of it. But I just say that to say that this is not just me like blowing smoke or whatever. That I do like evaluate book by book basis, and but from your work, I have faith that the other 2 books are just gonna, make pretty much like probably eliminate all the concerns I have. And it's like the book that I have called Long Harbor. The book.
I remember that book.
The book kind of ends on a cliffhanger, but the book is just gorgeous.
Yes,
it's scary. It's and the story is just so tight. Nashitobi, a guy from Ukraine, wrote it. I hope he's okay. Really need to see the rest of the book, but I couldn't really give him 6 carats, even though it's a 6 carat book, because I don't know if I ever get to the second half, and I couldn't recommend it high enough. But with you, I know I'm going to get those other 2 parts. So, but I do I don't recommend it as highly as I do Monster M.D. until I see a few more chapters come out. But Monster M.D. If when people ask me what's the book to get me kind of like into the space, I usually say Monster M.D.
Awesome.
It just has that. It just has that like atmosphere, especially the way CG was early on. It just feels like CG when everything was possible.
God,
Before.
that's nice to reflect on. Yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch of artists who are just fed up, but we're having the time of our lives.
Right.
We're all,
right.
you know what I mean? We're all pulling together. We're all driven. We've got a fire in our bellies to make something so good that the mainstream can't deny us.
Well, I think when people who never were in the comic book business had 6-figure campaigns, where that was possible, before now it just seems like you have to have a pedigree before, you can reach even 5 figures now. And that really sucks because people who, working 9-to-5 jobs and creating on the weekends, and that would be giving them the freedom to like make more, won't be able to do that now. And I really wish that was more evenly distributed, like it used to be, where people were really taking chances on these people coming out. And yeah, we got bit. And there's
it's
some
gonna happen. Sadly.
But I did get that book from Carlo Rowe when we thought that book was never coming out. And,
I love him. And he polished that. I mean, he redrew those pages so many times, and I know all about the production of that book. I know all about it.
Oh, yeah.
He was not lazy at all. He was working his ass off, but it did take him, a very long time. But I mean, the end result is
it's incredible, and visually, it's an incredible book. And I hope that he had enough left in him for the next couple of chapters, because that book left it a place too. So
I miss that guy. I hope he does more Death Sworn for us.
Yeah,
and got himself a girlfriend.
So
I don't know if we'll ever see comics from him again.
Well, yeah, that does tend to, it does tend to.
I'm happy for him, man.
How expensive was the red foil on that?
From what I don't remember, I can't give you exact numbers, but the people I printed with, which was API Printing, who now are API is also part of some other printer. I forgot what they're called that they work with now. Mm-hmm. But I remember that the price wasn't as bad as I expected for foil.
Right,
like I was a little worried about it. And when I found out that like I think it was just one foil stamp is how it worked, and it still came out gorgeous. It was not as pricey per book as I remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact numbers though.
Right. Critical Blast. The market got flooded with "I can do that" creators. Yeah,
that's a nice way of putting it. Critical.
Yep.
It also got flooded with like I have a shitty book and I'll just say I'm Comicsgate to get 6 figures, and then when I don't get it, I'll turn on them and hate the, stuff like that. Or people who just were using us for whatever, and then they moved on to the next thing.
Oh, sorry. Anyway,
oh, Mike.
Something caught in my throat there.
Mike should find a good writer that he gels well with and has fun with, and likes drawing the stories, and then make
and an original concept would be nice too. Original.
A guy
original
who looks like who just threw on something really quick to cosplay as Captain America for a costume party.
That's it.
You got to do something else. You got to do something better.
And your protagonist is vampires. I mean, what is this? 94? I mean, come on. Anyway, I'm just but the thing that you had Skids. Skids is like my favorite vampire of all time, I have to say.
Yes.
I love Skids.
Yeah, me too. Perpetually a little punk teenager forever, right?
I never thought of that before, but I was like, imagine if somebody got bit as a punk teenager, they would be an asshole for the rest of time.
Skids totally has other fans too. He does. I've had people. I think Eric Weathers loves Skids too.
Love Skids. Love Skids.
Something about him. I could hear his voice. You know what I mean? And also making him not just like a typical Euro weirdo with a cape or whatever, or making him kind of like a little creeper with a.
When I hear Skids in my head when I was reading him, I always heard a guy on the cusp of when his voice changes forever.
Little
You know,
Peter Brady.
Yeah, with Peter Brady with the voice changing forever. I mean, no order, he's an asshole, But
Yeah.
but the whole like blood pill, like stay out of necks. Here's some blood pills, and that's great. That's
Yeah.
it's part of that world building. But one
No
thing
deals.
that I think really, there's some really huge creators right now, and their writing is devolving
Oh,
because,
okay.
and they're getting these 6-figure campaigns, and it seems like their writing is like going by the wayside, and everything's spectacle and everything because it's like they believe because they're known for being artists and people are buying their stuff because they're the artist, that they no longer have to tell stories. I mean, the drop off between Starlight Cats and Inglorious Rex was drastic.
Oh, really?
Starlight Cats was really an incredible book. One of my favorite. It's
Really?
up there. It's up there with
Awesome.
Monster M.D. for me.
Okay, I didn't read it.
Well, but Inglorious Rex was like, compared to that,
I've heard some. Yeah, I've heard some critiques of that one. Pretty harsh
Well,
ones too.
yeah, well, I mean, but and then I get something like Snowman. It's been in development all these years, or the one that Kyle Ritter put out, and
Starblades.
the concept of Starblades was so good.
So Saturday morning goodness.
Oh my gosh! And
Yeah.
and I put it like as one of the books I thought was going to change everything. But then then when I got it, it's like, if he had a writer and if he had and and it was like it was good for a few pages, and it turns out he fired his editor after a few pages.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Piper was his editor, and she's like, "He fired me after this," and I was like, "I could tell exactly when he fired you."
Right, I see the top. Turn the page, different.
It's like
oh my God, the power of a good editor. What can I say?
Yeah.
But man, these people, all you guys, feel free to talk to me and hire me. I will doctor your scripts and make them so awesome. I will make your script shine as well as the art, and then you won't have to worry about it. I promise you. But yeah, so I get frustrated because I want everyone's books to be high,
it's like
high class greatness.
It's like I'm saying, it's not an either or proposition, and they keep acting like it's an either or proposition. We can have both and.
Right.
We can have both and.
It's hard, and we get caught up in the art more, and you forget that the people want that story. You know, they really do.
Well, the thing about it is if you like, I'll probably never pick up Snowman again because there's nothing to bring me back to it. There's no characters to care about. There's no world for me to live in, and as beautiful as that book is, and there's panels that'll make you weep. They're so beautiful, and it's like, but then I'm like, the only reason I would ever visit this again was like, wow, he really drew that panel incredible, and it's like I can get that from an art book, okay, one of my favorite artists is Gary Shipman, okay, and Gary Shipman has a very organic style, and he did the Mouse of Might. What was the name of that? Titan, Mouse of Might.
Yeah. I know that one.
But I got his art book because I just love that organic style of his. But I occasionally look at I remember that thing that he drew, and I'll look at that again on occasion. But I've read Titan, Mouse of Might several times, because it had a character I cared about and a world I wanted to visit.
Yes, and that's the name of the game. If there's no emotional connection, then no one comes back. There's no need to. There's no desire to. I've never said I'm going to buy the next issue because the art was good. I've always said I just want to know what happens next to these characters. Yeah, and then the art being good is like your icing.
Outside of Spawn, which characters from that first generation of Image are people drawing now? Do you see fan art of?
Oh,
you don't.
I don't see a lot. I maybe you'll see a grifter every now and then from Wildcats.
Yeah. Or I saw a Ripclaw and it was like jarring.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
Ripclaw. I remember Ripclaw, and I
I
was
remember
like,
Ripclaw.
and it's like I remember the look of him. I don't remember anything about him because
Right.
he wasn't a character. He was like light-filled,
He was
wanting
there
to
to be
be.
cool looking.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like basically, if you want people to want to revisit your worlds, if you want people to like buy the book for the right reason, and there's a right reason and a wrong reason to buy a book, okay, and we're seeing a lot of that, okay. If you're buying a book just to slab it and put it on the wall, that's fine, but that is just like turning a piece of that's basically turning into a piece of art. And that's not what comics are ever meant to be. Comics are a medium where art meets story. And it's the purest medium on the planet where art meets story. It's been going on since cave paintings of a bunch of cavemen around a big wildebeest trying to take it down. That's a comic. That's a comic,
Yeah.
okay?
And
There's
when
a
you go
narrative
into
there. It's
a
pictograph.
cathedral in Italy, they'll
Right.
have a big painting in a frame, or like framed by the stone of the wall, like it's like a wall fresco or whatever, and it
Right.
tells one part of the Station of the Cross, and then you see the next one over and it tells the next part. And I just looked over at my professor once when I was there back in freaking like when I was like 20 years old, way back when, and I just went, these are all just big comic books. And he went, yep. And
Exactly.
it's like my art professor agreed. So I was just like, that's amazing. It blew my mind as a young man. It made me realize the power of sequential storytelling and how ingrained in us it has been since, like you said, cave days. Egypt is the same way when you look at their walls, man.
Right.
Telling stories.
Well, and I'm not looking really. I'm not looking when I get a comic. I'm not looking for, something I want to put on my wall. I'm looking for a world to visit. I'm looking for characters to meet. I'm looking for stories to be told to me. I want to be around the campfire while somebody's telling a tale and then seeing images like in the smoke. I want that. I want that like experience when I get a comic. And when people are like, well, I'm known for art, so I'm just going to give them it's incredible art. And it's like, well, story is just a vehicle for the art. Okay.
Right.
And that's such a missed opportunity. Or if they go the
don't you
other
want to
way.
be a double threat? Like when you can do good art and story, to me, you're a monster. Like you're unstoppable. Like you're uncancelable. Because they can cancel you all they want, and then you'll just put out another amazing book, and everyone will show up. Like,
Right.
Mike
Barron. Look how many times they've been trying to take that guy down, and
you can't take down the Baron.
You can't take down the bloody red Baron.
I love the bloody red Baron. You know who really disappointed me in that department was Sean Gordon Murphy. I thought he was going to be the next thing because I enjoy his art. He's a good artist. He was hot off Batman, White Knight, and then his writing is just like you're not there, man. And I don't even know if you're trying. I don't know if you're really. He seems to think he's good and clever, but
he got the keys to the kingdom. He got the keys to the kingdom. He got the keys to the Ferrari before he learned how to drive. Really,
exactly. Yeah.
And so he just wrecked a bunch of Ferraris. He just wrecked a bunch of Ferraris. Say what up? What's up, Alex?
What's up, Alex?
A lot of people looking forward to Monster M.D returning. Yes, definitely. Question: how does Von get readers invested in his characters, techniques, or general approaches?
Every character I have to approach differently to get you to give a damn because they're all dealing with different shit. But the fact is that they're dealing with shit. That's the human experience. That is our everyday. We wake up. I don't care how great your life is. It's also full of stuff to deal with. And what I do is I try to figure out how to show what they're dealing with in a pretty smooth, clever way without overdoing it. And for instance, Black Terror, he's haunted by the ghost of his wife. We don't know exactly why, but we will. But why was he haunted by his wife that he loves so much and everything seems so great? Like, what's going on? Why is he carrying that weight? What happened? Whereas, Monster M.D, our boy Dr. Black, he wanted to quit. He's lost his place. So these characters, you have to give them a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a real crisis. If you have to, look at yourself or look at people and figure out how that crisis is going to relate to the crazy adventure you're about to put them through and connect it in a clever way. You don't need to be too overt. I'll give you guys a quick example.
Mm-hmm.
Silence of the Lambs. Great movie, great story, great writing.
Yeah.
We know that Clarice, Agent Starling, is haunted by the screaming of the lambs and wakes up in the night. And metaphorically, the last girl in the pit who needs to put the lotion on her skin or else she gets the hose again, she becomes the metaphoric lamb that she must save to stop being haunted. So I look at my characters as like, this character wants to kill herself because of her family name and everyone in town hates her and she figures she'll just join her dead parents. But what if she had a chance to clear the family name? Oh, shit.
Right.
People might be interested in that. Like, we can maybe relate to that. Maybe it's redemption. These are broad themes we can all relate to. And so in Silence of the Lambs, it's like you make the actual action of the story relate to the internal of what the character's crisis is.
Right.
And people just, yum, yum, yum. It's the best kind of story in writing. People get, it's what our best, you'll notice it happens in some of the best movies and comics and stories. That connection. So think about crises.
Well, one thing, one thing that I think separates the very good writers from the people who are just like slopping stuff on the page to get to move the art along is you always find it in the secondary characters. The secondary characters have an inner world? Do you have like the cop that's sitting here and he's just like in one panel and he's like complaining about, something that happened at home. And then suddenly this guy has a home life. Okay. Yeah. And it's the subtle stuff like that will take your writing to the next level. The X-Men, there's some X-Men who, we know intimately, like we know our own family members. Okay. We know Kurt is like got the Catholic guilt, but he looks like a demon. And so he's constantly trying to overcompensate by being cool to everybody. And like, look, I'm not scary.
Yeah.
And, I love Jesus, I got the cross and everything.
and he's charming,
And he's charming, and you love him. You love him because he's trying so hard, right? And then you got Wolverine, who just doesn't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
But the more you know it, the more you know him, you realize it's not that he doesn't give a shit; it's that he gives too much. He gives too much shit.
Yeah.
That he's shut himself off because because he's like all of. Basically, he's not emotionless. He's just like got too many emotions that he can't deal with, and so he just shuts it down because he's got all these memories in his head, right?
Yeah.
And once you figure that out, but you don't figure that out because like right away. You figure that out in like increments, right? Claremont was so good at that, and basically give everybody. You're just visiting these people in the middle of their day, okay? If you have that attitude that even your minor characters can have something interesting about them, you're like I want to follow that guy, out of the frame, they're just there for a couple frames, and it's like I wonder how that guy's day is. I wonder,
right.
Well,
it's interesting because it seems easy to do, but it's not, to give your character those contradictions that are interesting and work for the character. Wolverine becomes the anti-hero who desperately would love to be a hero.
Yeah.
But he knows he can't, right? It's so cool. It becomes like those internal conflicts they have with themselves bring resonance to every story you put them in. From there on out.
Peter Parker feels a responsibility to save the world, but he can't meet his rent.
Right.
But
how
because
is that,
Yeah, but he can't bring himself to use his power to pay the rent because the one time he did, he got Uncle Ben killed.
Yeah.
And
that's
and so
in there. That's in there.
Exactly. And it's like this dude could make, he could become a bank robber and like nobody could stop him. He's he's
Right.
scary, powerful, and scary fast, and he's way, way, way scarier than he lets on.
Right. And then instead, he's funny as hell. He's witty. Superman
Exactly.
could destroy every one of us, our whole
Right.
planet, if he felt like it. But he's
Yep.
our friend.
Right.
He has values. He cares. He takes a different route. That's
Well,
what's so interesting, man.
He
Good
can't have a
characters.
bad day. If
Yeah.
Superman had a bad day, he would be a villain.
Oh God.
If he
Yeah.
ever had a bad day. Superman versus the Elite, I think it's called, where that British guy and his crew like pushed. They thought they pushed Superman over the edge, and then they thought he was like killing them all, and then it turns out at the end he didn't kill them all. He's
Right.
just like, but he wanted that guy to understand. He's like, I can't. He's like, you can't push me too far, because if you push me if I go too far, nobody will ever be able to stop me.
Yeah.
And so you don't know what you're asking for so he wanted to show this guy what he was really something black. I can't remember, but he wanted to show this guy that if I do what you want me to do, there will be no stopping me. And you don't know. I want you to know what you're asking for. And it was such a brilliant moment because it just summed up Superman. It's like Superman has to be the paragon. He has to be the Boy Scout, because if he was anything less for any moment in time, he would be the bad guy.
Yeah.
He would be the ultimate villain.
Talk about the world on your shoulders.
Exactly. And once you understand that about him, and I think the person that understands that most about him is Batman. I think Bruce Wayne understands that more than anybody, and that's why they're best friends. As weird as they are together.
Yeah.
Because
Odd couple.
exactly. But because Batman, it goes the other way. Because Batman, he has to fight every single day. It's not easy for him. Nothing's easy for him. Everything's a struggle. Everything's uphill. And he's been fighting this war. This losing war. He knows he can't beat it. He can't win, but he fights for that one person he saves, the next person he saves. And when you understand that about it, this is a billionaire, multi-billionaire that doesn't have to do this, but he's doing it because he doesn't want any more kids on a rain-soaked street over the bodies of the parents.
Right.
And he's determined.
Stuck there. He's stuck.
Exactly. He's stuck in that moment, but the people that are interpreting these days don't understand. They think that makes him like, more edgy. It doesn't make him more edgy. It makes him less edgy, because edge is what killed his parents. And so he might even be more of a goody two shoes than Superman. He's just scarier. Okay, but that's the thing, though. We know these people. That's why we know when they're screwing with them, And but if you work on your character and you have to understand the core truth of them, and you cannot screw with that. And I think a lot of these characters I'm reading in these books, people don't understand the core of their character, and so it changes from like scene to scene and situation to situation, and so I don't even know who these people are.
Yeah. It's hard to do, but if you don't even do the work, it will show. It'll show it'll stick out. And it's so tricky. It's what they don't realize is if you do the work and you do understand the core, it's easier to write.
Yes, it is so much easier. I have a series called Pulp versus Noir, and Pulp versus Noir is like the binary. Okay, Pulp character are people that have a definitive moral like compass. Okay, and it could be good or bad, but they have a definitive moral compass. And noir characters are ones that don't. And so when the noir character is always altered by the pulp character, and the pulp character is never altered by the noir character. So knowing which is pulp and which is noir, helps you understand how they interact. Okay, and I think if people start understanding just what cannot change about this character and what is alterable, and
Yeah.
then when you go into situations, theme books are the hardest things to write, but when you get them right, there's a beauty to them.
There's a concert going on. It's a
Oh
concert.
yes. It's like the Beatles.
Symphony.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you get it right, and there's times where like the X-Men were right, or the Avengers were right, or the Justice League was right, and when that happens, and you got people interacting with one another, and they've got inside jokes, and they're fighting for each other, and in back to back with each other against impossible odds. That's something that comics have that no other medium has, especially superhero comics. Everybody talks about, oh, I hate cape shit. It's like, no, you don't. You love cape shit. You just, because cape shit is just basically heroics. And everybody's like, everybody needs a hero. Everybody wants to see a hero. The nihilism and the grayness of the world right now, and here you got a book in Monster M.D. that could be all edge and all moral gray. I mean, yet you have I know, and yet you have all these monsters that are basically would be like the bad guys in fairy tales, and they're all like forming this community, and they're all supporting one another, and they're just like the werewolf that gets shot up because he gets drunk and wolfs out and wanders onto a game preserve and gets shot up. He's got to take bullets out of him before he heals. I mean, or the vampire who's like perpetual teenage jackass, and he's got to keep him on blood pills so he doesn't turn a co-ed. And it's like all these things, and it's like even with these morally questionable things that would be villains in other books, you find a way to make them relatable and family, and that's what people are longing for. And if you write it right, then people will continually come back to your books and continue to want to visit. Company Man is a good example. Hybrids is another good example. Shadow Sentry is another good example.
Nice.
And these are in our community. These are people that never were in DC, never were in Marvel, and yet they love comics and they love storytelling, and these books are just as good as anything Prime X-Men. And I will say that for your books, you never sniffed Marvel or DC or Image or anybody like that, and yet your books are just as good. You just don't have the quote pedigree. And the pedigree doesn't mean shit. Okay,
Not these days.
The pedigree doesn't mean shit. It's this book that you're putting out right now. The book that you're putting out right now is a good. That's the bottom line. And there are people that like Nathan Rosario. Stump is one of my favorite characters of all time. And he's like the Hulk is like a Midwest Hulk. Okay, and his first solution is to punch it in the nose, and if it doesn't go down, well, I'll figure it out. And so, and it's such a Midwest point of view, right?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm trying to every time you create these characters in these worlds, people they forget about what makes them interesting is the flaws. And I think I have a love-hate relationship with humanity. I love-hate humanity. But I always in the end see the best in us, and I think that's what makes us a special species, a special kind of animal, a special kind of creation, because we could be the nastiest thing in the world, but there's always this potential for goodness and for overcoming it. That's just so, I don't know. It's special. It's rare. It's other animals.
Well, it's like Amber Rose and her. It's like Amber Rose, Drink with Crazy's wife, who just nursed that little goat back to health. And I've been watching him like come back, and she's like, he's frolicking around the kitchen, and I'm like, yes,
Oh, that's
yes,
adorable.
he's adorable. And it's like, yes, he's fine, he's
Yeah.
good, but it's like that moment in the middle of everybody like take torching each other. There's this, and this is like on the platform that this is so toxic, and yet I could follow this story and be uplifted, and we
Right.
need
That
more
makes
of
total
that in the
sense.
world. We need more of that in the
We
world.
do. I think especially right now,
Mm,
the negativity, the darkness. I
mm.
swear, it's like I don't know. It feels like it's in the air.
Yeah.
Half that's it feels like everyone's gone nuts, and
Mm,
I'm a punk, so I talk shit these days more than I used to. I
yeah.
call out stuff, and but I keep lately my mind keeps going. How do I, especially once I'm going to start making more YouTube videos, how do I
Hmm.
foster positivity in comics again? How do I
Yeah.
leave comics better than I found it?
Well, what I'm doing with what's next is I'm trying to focus on the good stuff. I'm trying to focus on the
That's
people who
nice.
I know that are doing writing and art and are raising the art form. Let me get caught up on some comments here. Wow, great answer. Yep. Vaughn, I wore my Psycho Killers t-shirt a couple bars. I was out of town for work.
Good one, Alex. Sweet.
Damn it, Peter Parker. I miss Uncle Ben's rice. Busiak threaded both JLA and talk about team books. Threaded? I don't think that's the word he meant there.
Hmm.
He I think he wrote both of them. I think he also wrote Marvels, which is my favorite book of all time.
Nice.
I'm really not a fan of traditional cape shit comics in general, but be honest, but that does have a lot to do with content. Yeah. Well, Vaughn, tweak your mic. He was just a little off of his mic. He just had to get back in it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry about that.
Nina Infinity nursed a dehydrated, starving kitten back to health. Hey, there you go. There you go.
Oh,
Aw.
sweet.
Um, at the end of the day, one thing about what's next is that I think that's what we need to. I think we've gotten to the point. It's all dying and it's all crumbling, and I think it's past the beyond point where it's worth saving. And
Yeah.
and the people and it couldn't be saved even if we tried because the people who are just DEI'd up to the ass.
Yeah.
And ESG just gave them like carte blanche to just completely, totally say screw the customer, and they thought it was going to be there forever because they're a bunch of communists and they don't understand that finite resources, and
Yeah.
and so I'm like, why am I seeing some of the videos on this third episode of Acolyte, which totally rewrites the history of the Force and does the timeless child,
Yeah.
Doctor Who thing. And I'm like, why do we care? Why
Yeah.
do we care? We
Why tell this
don't.
story? Why tell it?
So why don't I have Vaughn on and talk about this cool crew he's got, or this guy here is World War II vet, Why don't I
Yeah.
talk about things that are going to be next. I know what's now. Now sucks. Let's get out of this perpetual now, and let's talk about things that were good, that we loved, that formed us, and that made us the fans that we are. And let's talk about who's creating the next thing that's going to make us fans in the future. I don't want to talk about the moldering corpse of lesbians that is Star Wars. I want to talk about the next Star Wars. I want to talk about Joe Catapano's Star Circuit. I want to talk
Yeah.
about
I agree.
company men. I want to talk
It's
about
I
cool
don't
stuff.
yeah,
Right?
I don't even worry about it. You just make fun of it and move on. It's a
Yeah.
flaming bus flying off a cliff, and it's not Star Wars. Don't worry about it. Everything has to go through a bad cycle right now. Let it
Yep.
and focus on the good. Find the good. Yeah, I heard a good quote recently that made me think a little bit. It was,
Mhm.
if you want to learn something new, read old books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read old books. These are
Yep.
people who had different culture, values, and perspectives that
Mhm.
we forget about. And then you open it and you're like, whoa, never thought of that. But it's not just about reading old books. There's a metaphor to that. Like, look to the past to remember how it was done, because we've forgotten how to tell stories, and I don't know how that's happened. Too many of us don't know how anymore. I don't know. I don't want to call it a lost art, but it seems like something people don't value as much. And look at the results. Like, the results are these like trash movies. When I was growing up, I know I'm gonna sound a little old. Back in my day, when my friends and I, our thing was we went to the movies. We love the movies. We love the stories, and we grew up in the 80s and 90s, going to the movies and coming out, and then we talked about them. And even if the movie was fucking stellar, you know what would happen? We were critical of it. I didn't really like that little part. We didn't really like that, but we still, we liked it. We respected it, but we would be critical as hell. We had standards. And when I entered film school, my teacher told me the first day that even though our film school was the largest in the known universe, we got nothing in festivals, man. Zero. Because even though our movies looked great, perfect cinematography, costuming, lighting, beautiful, it's beautiful to look at. No one knew how to write a story with a damn. So I remember realizing, like, we're in a crisis, and it's up to me to be the best writer and storyteller I can be. And from there, I just worked even harder to be a good writer and storyteller, and then learn the craft. So it's like, why is it lost? Why are our values, are making us forget how to tell a good one, or do we just not value the same things? It seems like that. I'm not for sure, but to me, it's a crisis in a way. If we don't know how to tell good stories, how are we going to uplift people or make them want to come back, or like want to make their own stuff? How are we going to pass the torch? Good storytelling onto new generations so that they can, because these stories, they don't just about feeling good. They're about wisdoms. They say things to us from across time.
Well, FMC. If you look at the projects that are on FMC, most of them are writer projects. Projects from people who, were writer centric, and they hired artists or whatever, and so. If you want to say there's a skewing going on, Indiegogo seems to skew more towards the art, and FMC seems to skew more towards the story. And to be honest, if I have my druthers, and I think the whole world's this way now because of manga, the power of manga, is that if you could tell a compelling story with stick figures, okay, if it's a good enough story, people are going to back it. And and I'm not saying lower the art standards, but I'm saying we can have both, But if you're going to skew one way, everybody thinks you can skew the art way. But I'm saying if you're going to skew one way, skew more towards the writing, because if you don't have a story, compelling world, and characters that people want to meet and spend time with, then it's going to be on somebody's shelf somewhere, but they're not going to reread it, they're not going to revisit it, and they're not going to buy the next book. And so if you're going to err on any side, err on the side of writing.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, as because I'm not a pro artist. I can draw some things kind of cool, but I have a lot of work to do, and I'm going to err on the side of writing. I'm going to allow myself to be flawed with the art. Some of my favorite books have artists that were young and still learning things, and you love the art for what it is, flaws and all. And that is interesting, because that's the givingness of readers that a lot of artists can forget about. I'm not saying that means slack or anything, but they if they're into the characters, we forget about the art. We're almost in another magical place for a moment where we're like
Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, Calvin and Hobbes is technically better drawn, but Charlie Brown changed the world, But I at the same time, I really honestly think that I'm seeing a lot of erring on the side of art, and from people who really have the resources that they could just have incredible, perfect edited, perfect written books, and so. they're going to get six figures if they just take a dump in a box. I get that. And so they don't really there's really no impetus for them to get better. But I'm just saying, down the road, that's going to matter. When people go to revisit this stuff, it's going to matter down the road. Now you're getting six figures, but you're going to be forgotten.
How many? Yeah, I don't know how other artists are about this, but maybe I'm too intense about this, but I think a lot about death, and I think about how, what am I going to leave behind? So I
didn't see any of that death imagery in Rise Again comics. I missed that. I missed that part.
Yeah.
No.
This is skulls everywhere, damn it. Everywhere you look. It's like a catacomb of my soul, baby. Welcome to it. Welcome. You wait till I don't know if you got my art book that's coming, Necrovanicon. Like, that's just a gravestone. And like on the back, it's got a huge gravestone that says, "Here lies the work of Von Klaus." So I do look at it as, well, what makes certain stories go on forever, and whereas other ones become just fodder, trash. Yeah. So I look at everything I write as how can I achieve that? It doesn't mean I always will, but I want to. Right. I want to have something to leave when I'm gone.
Resonate.
Sure.
Resonate.
You have to find that resonance. Yeah.
It's like when Nikola Tesla found the resonance of the planet and accidentally caused an earthquake. Because he figured out that the whole planet like resonates at a certain frequency, and he discovered that frequency. Then he destroyed all his notes because he's terrified at what he discovered. But there's a resonance that you can find with your writing that I can write a character and it touches me, and then somebody that maybe years down the road after production looks at that same character and gets the same feeling.
That's special. It's magic.
If you can find that, there's nothing like it. It's connection. I connected with Vaughn. I've never met him in person. He's in Tulsa and I'm here in North Carolina, but we're connected through his characters, through his worlds. I've walked in his world. I've met his characters, and in a lot of ways I met him through his characters, and that we have that resonance between us, And we all found a resonance with each other when Star Wars was good, when his fandoms were, we found a resonance with each other. We found each other through that. And we all connected. You know what? Yes, those connections those things that connected us are broken now, but we can create those connections again. We just need to find the new properties to do that. We need to find out what's next. See that?
What's next, baby?
What's next? All right. Anyway, let me go ahead, catch these last comments, and I will let Vaughn. He looks like he needs a nap. Anyway,
sorry about that. I did not get a lot of sleep last night, and I've been working like outside in the yard all day.
I figured. He threaded the needle that is writing a huge team book. Oh, okay, that's what he meant. All
okay.
Right. Bunny, just got home from my ventures in California. I'm glad you survived, my friend.
Woo.
Whew. It's good to focus on good stuff when you can help it. It's tough sometimes on social media. Oh, yeah. Acolyte, lesbian witches are good. Can you believe it? Yep, I can.
Kill all the witches.
Who didn't see that? I see Leslie Headland. Let's put her in charge of a Star Wars. I wonder what it's going to be about. All right,
lesbians.
Anyway. You're stuck about Star what? Yeah, exactly.
It's not called Scissor Wars, bitch.
No, no. And, by the way, two of these can't make anything. All right. Anyway. All right. Star Circuit 2 looks great. Try to plug in two holes. Try to put two holes together and see how productive that is. I'm just saying with no connector. All right. Star Circuit 2 looks great. Yes, it does. As soon as it comes to FMC, I am backing that book. Okay. Hey, Wookiee Fever, Star Wars Acolyte new series. Yep. All right, Shadow Punk. Hey guys, they're commiserating. FMC is growing though. Even if it's not your only platform, it's a good place to be. Yes, it is.
I agree.
FMC all the way. Catacomb as Bancroft. Catacomb as Bancroft.
Catacomb.
That Tesla thing sounds like a tall tale bunny. No, it's not. It's not.
Well, here's the thing you should know about Tesla. He built something called an earthquake machine. And the machine does run on finding, I believe it finds the resonance on something. And once it matches it, you can really do a lot of damage with it. And there's an episode, I think it's of Mythbusters, where they rebuild it and attach it to a bridge. Luckily, I think they made a small version, but it started to get a little weird, I remember.
Yeah.
Right?
They turned it off because they started feeling it in the soles of their feet. And they're like,
That's
something's
creepy.
happening here. We need to turn this off.
Right.
I'm just saying that the man, he would probably crack the field theory. He probably did crack the field theory. We just don't know it. I think the government might have buried it. Anyway, Shadowpunk, let's say, shut up, Wookie Fever. Anyway, and so in before they declare there's no light or dark sides of the Force, there's no good or bad Force, only good or bad persons. Yep, there you go.
I heard they did declare that recently, that there is going to be no light or dark. That might have been a joke, though. I hope that was
Leslie Headland has declared that she is a Sith, and it's like surprising no one. Let's see, you're the personal assistant lining stuff up from Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, and serving people up for him. Yeah, you have a lot of moral fiber there, young lady. Anyway.
I guess you are a Sith.
Definitely. All right. Well, 176 eyeballs. I guess you're really popular in some circles. Thank you for coming on my show, man. I really appreciate it. Anyway, if you like the content, always, if you like the content, like and subscribe before you leave. I got the Kitaru is listed. Also, the Rise Again Comics website is also listed. And they're in the description below. Check those out. And let me play that Kitaru trailer, and we will head out right quick.
Thank you.
Let me play it one more time.
Appreciate you, man.
This is available on... No problem. This is also... It's on FMC, and it's also on Indiegogo. So check it out. Where did I stick that thing?
Dude, we always have good conversations, too. It gets me inspired, and I appreciate you. So thanks.
Oh, I appreciate it, too, man. We got... This writers got to stick together, right?
Yeah. Right.
Anyway. All right, we're gonna watch this trailer and we'll head out. See you, everybody. All right.